Hello everyone and welcome to another devlog video for HomeGrown, and this week, as you can see from the title, I have a bit of exciting news. I'm going to be taking HomeGrown to Gamescom in Cologne this year. I'm going together with Game City Hamburg, who are taking 4 indie games from Hamburg this year, and HomeGrown is one of them. So, very exciting, loads to prepare, and in this video I'll talk a bit about how all of the preparations are going. So, if you're going to Gamescom this year, then do come and say hello. We'll be in the Indie Arena booth area, so come and say hi and maybe try out HomeGrown. So in preparation for Gamescom, I kind of turned my focus a bit towards graphics recently, because I've also had to submit lots of screenshots and gameplay footage of the game, so I've been trying to get it looking as good as it possibly can. So since the last devlog video, I reworked all of the vegetable models. I got them looking as cute and as polished as I possibly could. I also did a bit more work on the house model based on the feedback I got after the last devlog video. So I made it a bit taller so that you can see more of the front. I tweaked the colours some more, and I also added this window to the roof to make the silhouettes of the house a bit more interesting. And then recently, I've just been very quickly implementing this harvesting effect because I had to submit some gameplay footage and I thought that this would look cool. But it's not properly implemented yet. You can see most of the vegetables you harvest just turn to carrots. So the first thing I'm going to do this week is to implement this properly. So the effect is now working with all of the vegetables. I think it's pretty satisfying to use. Originally I tried implementing this using more of a physics-based approach. So I would apply gravity and the pulling force to the vegetable, but I just found it to be so unpredictable and hard to control. Sometimes the vegetable would fly off the screen, sometimes it would go into orbit around the inventory. So in the end, I went for a more interpolation-based approach. And this is based on 2 easing functions. One is just a simple jump, which makes the vegetable jump out of the ground and then fall back down again. And the other is simply interpolating it from its original position into the target position in the inventory. And then the final effect is created by mixing the result of these 2 easing functions so that you get that initial jump as the vegetable pops out of the ground, and then it makes its way smoothly into the inventory. And by using easing functions, it just means that I can control exactly how long this effect takes, and I can guarantee that the vegetable will end up exactly where I want it to. I've just been spending another few hours on this effect to get it working with some of the more complicated plants, like the potatoes here, which are a bit different because they spawn multiple items per plant, unlike everything else which just spawns 1 item. Then the fruit trees, they're a bit different because you can cut the fruits off the trees, and also the fruit spawns in a sphere shape that surrounds the apple tree, so that the apples pop out in all directions, which looks quite nice, I think. And then a similar thing for the tomatoes here. The tomato items spawn all the way up the length of the vine instead of just spawning at ground level like most of the other plants. Today's actually the day that I'm allowed to announce that I'm going to Gamescom, so I've just been working on a quick social media post for that, and I thought it would be a good time to show you that the game now has a logo. This was made by Sibylla, an artist who I've been working with recently, and she's also made some really nice promo artwork, which I'll be using at Gamescom. Just been finishing up implementing this new vegetable that I've been adding recently, the onion. Just had to make all of the model stages and the icons for the seeds, the medal, and the vegetable icon itself. I'm trying to add a few more vegetables into the game before Gamescom, but it's not a particularly high priority because people are only going to be able to test the game out for a few minutes, so they're not going to be able to see all of the vegetables anyway. I've also just been finishing up the fruit tree updates. I've now made it possible for you to cut them down if you want to remove them, and I implemented that same harvesting effect with the logs here, so that when you cut down trees now, the logs pop out of them and fly into your inventory, which I think is pretty satisfying. It is 10 to 10 in the evening. I've just spent the evening today finishing up this latest version of the game and preparing the Patreon release, doing a write-up of this version on Patreon as well. And yeah, just drawing a line under this update, the version with the fruit trees and the harvesting effect, so that on Monday I can start fresh on the next topic. It is Monday morning. I'm a little bit exhausted today because yesterday I ran in the Hamburg Half Marathon, which was a lot of fun. I didn't quite beat my time from a couple of years ago, but I still got under 2 hours, which was my main aim. So really enjoyed that, but today I'm feeling a little bit stiff and painful. But getting back to work on HomeGrown, and my plan for this week is I'm going to spend the whole week just working on the tool effects and trying to make them as satisfying as possible to use. Well, I ended up completely changing my plan. I'm a bit all over the place at the moment. I'm not very good working under time pressure, and I thought that it was probably more important for me to sort out the graphics in the town area, and then little things like effects can come later, because ever since I've updated the graphics in the home area, the town's looked a little bit out of place. It's also looked a little bit gloomy in the new lighting conditions. So at the moment I'm just in Blender updating the town scene, updating the colours, switching out some of the models for the new models, like for the trees and the grass and the flowers, and then I'm probably going to have to go through some of these building models and update them a bit, just to get them looking a little bit more in line with the style of the models in the home area. So I've just spent the last 2 days updating all of the colours and some of the models in the town area, which has been a bit of a frustrating experience. I talked a lot about colour in the last Devlog video, so you already know how much I struggle with it. But let me show you how it looks in the game now. So here it is. I think it looks okay. I'm still not completely satisfied with it, and after Gamescom I definitely want to take a couple of weeks out and just look at colour and lighting and really sort it out. But I think this is fine for now. I haven't completely updated all of the models, but you can see I've swapped out the trees and the grass. So this will do for now, and I need to move on to some other stuff now. Some stuff has just arrived in the post. I've recently been ordering a few things to give away at Gamescom, because apparently that's the done thing. So I got these stickers made with the HomeGrown logo, and I think that's turned out really nicely. And then I also got a few of these pins just to try, but to be honest I think they look a little bit cheaper and tackier than I was expecting, so not sure I'm going to get any more of them, but I like the stickers. So now I'm getting back to working on effects, and first up I've been implementing that flying vegetables effect in a few different scenarios in the game. Like here I'm using it for when you empty the auto harvester containers into the inventory, which I think looks quite nice. I also just found out that I need to submit a trailer for the game in the next couple of weeks, and I don't have a trailer yet. So I think I'm going to work on these effects for a couple more days, just because it would be nice to have some of them in the trailer. And then after that I'll have to get to work on making the trailer. So let me show you all the new effects that I've been working on. Firstly, path placing now comes with a nice particle effect. Then if you surround an entire vegetable bed with pathways, you get a speed boost, and previously there was no effect for that, so I've now added this effect with a little text pop-up to show you that you've definitely got that speed boost. There's a similar thing for watering as well. If you water an entire bed in one go, you get a little watering buff, and I've added this little pop-up to show that. That just keeps the soil watered for longer. Then when you're harvesting fruit trees, they now shake a little bit, just feels a little bit more realistic. And finally, when you're placing objects in the world, they now do this little popping animation instead of just appearing, and that's just using a simple easing function. It is Monday morning again. My plan for this week is just to make the trailer for the game, which I think is probably going to take all week, and even if it doesn't, I still then have to make this devlog video, so it's going to be a week of video editing. So this morning I'm just going to start off by quickly planning out the trailer, and then I'll get filming. Probably going to have to implement a few things as I go along if I find that something's missing. So, time to get started. So I've roughly planned out the trailer, but there's a couple of things that I need to update in the game first, like the fertilizer icons. These are still using the old style of icon instead of this new style with the cell shading and the outlines. So I'm going to quickly update them first. So I finished making the new fertilizer icons, which you can see here. I've tried something a little bit different this time. So just to give you some context, each fertilizer has a buff associated with it. So this is the moisturizer buff, keeps your soil wet. And then there are multiple tiers of the same buff. So this is moisturizer tier 2, bit stronger, moisturizer tier 3, bit stronger, and so on. Previously what I was doing is I was showing the tier number on the label. This time I wanted to try showing the buffs icon on the label. I thought it was a bit more important, plus the only way to tell which buff it was previously was by the color, and that's obviously not great for colorblind people. And then to distinguish between different tiers, I made multiple different bottle shapes. So you can tell the tiers apart, but it's obviously not so easy to see which tier is which. I tried to make the bottles get more fancy as you go up, but it's not particularly obvious. I did consider putting some stars on them to indicate what tier they are, but it looked really cluttered in the icon, and it would also be quite hard to scale this past tier 5. So for now it's just the shape of the bottle that changes for different tiers. I might have to have a bit more of a think to come up with some other ways of showing what tier they are, but this will do fine for the trailer. So getting back to work on the trailer now, I've just been doing a bit more in-depth planning, working out exactly which features I want to show in there, and then I've broken that down into individual bits of footage that I need to film, and I've organised that into a rough timeline. And I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to very quickly film each of these bits of footage, but just very roughly, just a draft, edit that together into a draft trailer, see how it all fits together, see if it flows well, and then I'll go through each bit of footage and film it properly. Just finished editing together the draft trailer, and it's pretty bad. It's about 3 times too long. I massively overestimated how much stuff I could get into 45 seconds, which is how long the trailer needs to be. And a lot of it just doesn't look as good as I imagined it would in my head. But, you know, that's part of the process. That's why I made the draft. So now I can start work on trying to refine it. Some more stuff just arrived in the post. I got this t-shirt with the HomeGrown logo on it. This is what I'm going to be wearing at Gamescom. And then I also got some decorations for the booth. I ordered these on Etsy, so they're all handmade, which is really cool. And I was even able to ask for some customizations so that I could get the turnip looking like it does in the logo. So I've been working on the trailer for the last 3-4 days and pretty much finished now. By the way, this is just the trailer for Gamescom. This isn't the launch trailer. I'll be spending a lot longer on that when the time comes. But this one turned out okay in the end. I spent a lot of time in the last few days just creating nice looking farms so that each bit of footage would look as nice as it possibly could. And I'm fairly happy with the results. I haven't posted it anywhere yet, but I'll let you know when I do so that you can watch it if you want to. Actually, I'll probably have it on the HomeGrown Steam page to start with, so you'll be able to see it there when the Steam page is ready, which will be very, very soon. So that's going to be it for this week. I will try to get one more devlog out before Gamescom if I can, but we'll have to see. It's only a month away now, and I've still got quite a lot of stuff to prepare, so I'll have to see if I have time. But if I don't, you can always have a look on my other social medias. I post quite regularly there, so you can see what I'm working on there if you're interested. Before I finish, I want to say a massive thank you to the top Patreon supporters from last month, who were Maximilian H, Marcus Rechel, Viechu, Daryl Zuniga, Kevin Schau, Peter Westhazen, Ingo Moore, Henning KO, Helson Taveras, Andrew Romans, Marais, Shadeless Fox, Coda the Tyler, Ross from 2 Minute Tabletop, Nikat Asgazada, Zanil Ambakar, Atomic Code, Walden Yan, Chris Naismith, Alan Lance, Wonuff, Dieter Reinert, Harry Chung, Christopher Poe, Matthias Barder, Hagen Vingard, Matthew Connaughton, Miggy Doze, Marek Mikulajczyk, Sean McCrory, Timothy Gibbons, and Neil Blakey Milner. So a massive thank you to you guys, and of course to everyone else supporting me over on Patreon. For this week though, that is it. Thank you all very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all next time, or potentially in Cologne at Gamescom.